Welcome to Hack the Entrepreneur, the show which reveals the fears, habits, and inner battles behind big-name entrepreneurs and those on their way to joining them. Now here is your host, John Naster.
Hey, this is Hack the Entrepreneur. Thank you so much for joining me again today. I am your host, John Naster, but you can call me Johnny. My guest today is a former real estate agent, current keynote speaker, and an all-out entrepreneur. Just over 5 years ago, my guest was introduced to a new way of teaching entrepreneurship. The idea was learning while playing a newly designed board game. So he took a chance and headed to the UK to try running a workshop based on this new board game, and he found his calling. Upon his return home to Israel, he became a co-founder in what is now known as FreshBiz, a gamified system for corporate leadership and professional training. Now, let's hack Simcha Gluck. Picture this. You're racing against the clock to wrap up 3 projects, prepping for a meeting later in the afternoon, all while trying to tackle a mountain of paperwork. Welcome to life as an entrepreneur. Challenging? Yes, but our friends at FreshBooks believe the rewards are absolutely worth it. The world has changed. With the growth of the internet, there's never been more opportunities for us as the self-employed. To meet this need, FreshBooks is excited to announce the launch of an all-new version of their cloud accounting software. It's been redesigned from the ground up and custom-built exactly for the way that you work. Get ready for the simplest way to be more productive, organized, and most importantly, to get paid quickly. The all-new FreshBooks is not only ridiculously easy to use, it's also packed full of powerful features. Create and send professional-looking invoices in less than 30 seconds. Set up online payments with just a couple clicks and get paid 4 times faster. Plus, you'll see when your client has seen your invoice. This will put an end to all of the guessing games. FreshBooks is offering you, a Hack the Entrepreneur listener, an unrestricted free trial. To claim it, just go to freshbooks.com/hack and enter Hack the Entrepreneur in the How Did You Hear About Us section. We are back with another episode of Hack the Entrepreneur, and today we have a very, very, very special guest. Simcha, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
It's very cool of you to join me all the way from Thailand on your vacation, workcation, I guess they call it.
Exactly. I'd like to call it an alternative living reality for the month of February.
Nice. Even better. I love it. All right, so what do you say? Should we jump into this?
That sounds great.
All right. Simcha, as an entrepreneur, can you tell me, what is the one thing that you do that you feel has been the biggest contributor to your successes so far?
I would think that the one key thing that I do is I bring a spirit of what we call in FreshBiz serious playfulness to everything I do. I really work on not taking myself too seriously. At the same time, my goal is I've just been trained, and I keep training myself to realize that life and business essentially is a game. And there's game mechanics, and therefore there's ways to hack it. And once there's ways to hack it, it's all about having fun, and it's all about the fun theory. And so I would say that the idea of serious playfulness has been something that's been really key. No matter what, my goal is to always have fun and to bring this energy to it that I find very often winds up being contagious. So it's very uplifting and inspiring, and it turns boring processes into fun adventures and fun projects by the language and by the mindset of just choosing to be playful about it, choosing to have fun, putting on the music, going outdoors, doing the things. If I'm going to have to put in the time anyways, how do we really polish it up so it winds up being good, playful, fun time that we're putting in, even when we're quote unquote working hard? How do we elevate it through playfulness and have it be working smart and fulfilling a lot of different dimensions at the same time?
I like it. And it's probably it's like sort of the brand that I'm sure brings people to you now. But do you ever find that there's sort of a fine line you have to walk sort of with clients between playfulness, but not showing, like, so they know you're serious still, but also still sort of having fun with it?
Yeah, it's an interesting balance. I remember when we were still figuring things out. So 6 years ago is when we co-founded FreshBiz, the game-based training company. And I remember we've traveled to many countries around the world, training very cool companies, very cool entrepreneurs. And I remember when we were still trying to figure out what that balance was and showing up in India with suits, just because, that's what they told us is how professionals show up. Meanwhile, in the US, we weren't showing up in suits, but somehow for India, we had to show up. And I remember just this process that we went through where we finally said to ourselves, look, we're not putting on suit costumes for anybody, because that's not who we are. It's not what we believe in. It's not how we think. We're just going to show up how we show up from now on. And that's going to be our deal. So it's usually jeans and a t-shirt, maybe like a nice, maybe a nice button down, maybe a nice jacket here and there. But yeah, I think that the reality is that the world's come a very long way for understanding that when people have value to contribute, they'll just be quiet and listen. It doesn't matter how it's packaged, really. I mean, packaging is important, obviously, but I think for what we've been doing, we just trust in the value that we have to offer and in the love that we give people as we take them through a process. And it's really worked very, very well for us. But I still remember that process of finding ourselves. When do we get dressed up? When do we not get dressed up? How do we do this? And, there's an ebb and flow, but I think at this point now, we're just so solid on who we are, what we bring, and how we show up that people just sort of feel the playfulness, and they get it.
Yeah, and it's obviously like more genuine feeling. Like it's you. It's not you pretending to be what you think you're supposed to be.
Exactly.
Which I think a lot of us kind of go through. I know I did, like, obviously earlier on too, I thought like, oh, you need that suit. You need to look the part, sort of. But then it's like, no, you don't. You just have to be yourself and be genuine and be damn good at what you do. And people will kind of flock to it. That's just how it is.
Yeah, I remember that.
And they almost get along better if they know you're being genuine.
Yeah, I remember that process also, even just as at this point now I'm 37 years old, but I remember that process of as I was becoming an adult, sort of getting into, am I supposed to be acting like an adult, or am I just saying things that adults would say and just trying to, I don't know if you remember that also, but this like weird sort of feeling of, am I doing adult things? Did I say this the right way? Can I call someone Mr.? Can I say them by their first name? And then realizing that, there is no imposterness around that. As long as you're being you, you're you. It's authentic. It's real. It's genuine. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly. So let's go back a little bit if we can, because you said 6 years ago you ventured out to start FreshBiz. I think it's like gamification of like training, right? And so can you just sort of walk us through like the process of how did you sort of determine the idea, and then how did you choose your partner to work with?
So I think what's amazing about entrepreneurship is that really the way that we define it, entrepreneurial thinking, is the ability to turn ideas into reality. And this is a perfect case for all the entrepreneurs out there where it wasn't my idea. So I'm not the creator of FreshBiz. I'm not, it wasn't my idea that I brought into reality, but I definitely created a game around the game. I've definitely made it my own. My partner, been blessed with a really good partner. His name is Ronen Gafni, and born and raised in the startup nation of Israel. And he's just absolutely brilliant. He spent about 5 years of his life iterating, reiterating, creating the FreshBiz board game, just because he felt that there are no games out there, literally physical board games out there, that actually train people in the entrepreneurial spirit, the entrepreneurial mindset. They tend to be very old school games like we know of, right? That sort of infuse old fear-based values, that competition is, it is business and business is competition, and you have to kill or be killed, take over the whole world or you're a loser. In Monopoly, you have to bankrupt and destroy people financially or else you're not a winner, right? And these aren't the values of entrepreneurs, definitely not entrepreneurs in the new shared economy. And it was after 5 years, just to share his story really quick, is that he basically got so much good feedback about the transformation that people playing the game had when they went back to their life and their business weeks later, that he turned it into a training company. He sold his house actually to print the first 1,000 games. And you talk about being all in, forget about it. That's with a wife and a couple of kids. And he took me on board to co-found FreshBiz with him to take it global. So I've been on board basically since the board game was translated into English for the first time. At this point now, we're in 8 different languages. And I went through basically the first workshop ever in the history of FreshBiz in English. Someone invited me to it at a networking event. And there was this really wacky concept, this, entrepreneurial thinking, board game night. Okay, I'm in, I'll check it out. And I went out there. It was a 3-hour workshop where 90 minutes of it was actually me playing a board game. To be honest, I didn't win that night, but I like to think that I won in general because I came home with so many insights that I knew, and I knew that I knew that I needed to be a trainer for FreshBiz. I wanted to be one of their first trainers. And that's really how it all began. I said, I'm in, and I became one of their trainers to really bring sort of this game-based methodology. We really felt that we can really train people in a whole new entrepreneurial mindset through gameplay. And that's really what we've been doing for 6 years. So what started out with a 3-hour workshop has become a full day and a 3-day and a 4. Now we take entrepreneurs for different lifestyle training experiences around the world and doing, the same thing with executives and companies. But I guess that's in a nutshell 6 years ago when we started to really take, we declared FreshBiz a game-based training company as opposed to just sort of a fun, playful game. And we decided to call it a serious game and really start doing some big things with it.
So you had moved back to Israel at that point. Like you didn't move there to join FreshBiz.
No, I had moved to Israel. Yeah, I was already there for about 4 years at that point.
Okay, nice. And then, so between the time that he asked you and proposed that you join him as a partner in this, all it took was you doing one workshop, and then you were like, okay, I'm all in.
Yeah, sure. I played one time. It was so good. And then I left. At that point, I was actually my career, if you will, at that moment. I mean, I've done so many different things from sales and marketing but at that moment, I was in the world of real estate. And I certainly was coaching on the side because I've always been I've been a coach and a trainer for at this point now for about 13 years. But at that point, I left this game-based experience and it had a profound impact on my real estate career. I mean, I had my biggest year that I ever had after going through that workshop. And I really can say that it was because certain things came alive for me in my head that I didn't see previously. And I was able to just copy and paste it in my real life, and it worked. So I was balancing at that point being in real estate and doing all sorts of real estate ventures, and also being a coach and a trainer for FreshBiz, running workshops for my different communities that I had all across Jerusalem. And I traveled to the US also. Wow. It was a really nice blend.
Nice. And then you went all in into FreshBiz.
Exactly.
After that. And then when was the last point in the last, say, 6 years of being sort of full-time into it? When was the last point that you woke up one morning and were just like, there's so much that's kind of riding on you now that you would just wish you could go back to just selling real estate?
Oh my gosh.
It's happened once. I know it has. It's happened to all of us.
Yeah, it's happened, sure. Meaning that it felt like the weight was too big to carry, in other words?
You know what I mean? Yeah, you're kind of responsible for everything. It's not just I can go to a job and maybe sell a property and make a bunch of money and then just kind of go about my day. You know what I mean? I don't have to bring it home. I don't have to do all that stuff.
Yeah, sure. I definitely had a bunch of moments where it just felt very heavy, where I needed to retreat in my man cave with my guitar and just shut down from the world, shut down from social, go within for a few days or maybe even a week, just because, holy cow, very often we can get so locked into something. And for me personally, one of my biggest challenges is and I don't mean this with arrogance, I'm just being honest, is I'm such a visionary. I'm a futurist. I see the big picture so big and so quickly that I wind up creating this frustration in myself and with the world that it doesn't catch up to my expanded vision as quick as in my mind it should. And that's when I usually sort of just take time to breathe and to relax and to be okay with the fact that the world functions in a different sort of set of time than my actual brain does, and to be okay with it.
Right. That's cool. So your one thing is this idea of serious playfulness. So every sort of expert now talks about this 80-20 rule in business. You're supposed to find that 20% that gets you the 80% of results, and then you're supposed to do what you're good at and delegate the rest. Simcha, can you tell me something that you are absolutely not good at in your business?
Yeah. If you gave me the responsibility right now to make an awesome connect the dots book, I'd be really good at having the ideas for the pictures on every single page, for sure. But in terms of actually putting down all the specific dots and then giving the specific way to connect all those different dots, that's what I'm not so good at. I'm not so good when it comes to the logistics and the specifics of all the fine tuning that really needs to take place for this beautiful orchestra to start playing. I get the music, but all the different pieces is where I just feel very thankful and grateful that I've been able to be humble in the fact that I reach out to partners, I reach out to team members, I reach out to other people in my life who have those abilities to be able to fill in. But that's one of my abilities where I feel I don't have.
And so I love your awareness around this. And so when you said like how you're 37 now and there's that point you sort of reach where you realize like, oh, am I thinking like an adult? Is this the same sort of thing? Like this awareness of what you're not good at in your business, was this something that you've always had, or did you sort of realize this along the way?
This is something that I've always had. So I'm married to my best friend, Rachel. So that's pretty convenient. And we have a really good relationship, but always it's like I was never the guy that was balancing the checkbook, that was paying our bills, that was calling to negotiate, the specific cell phone plans that we had. I just always, the details and all the processes that needed to happen in my mind were overwhelming. And I've gotten a lot better. I mean, at this point now, I pay our bills, I cover our finances, I'm balancing the check, I'm doing all that stuff. I've evolved myself. But yeah, it's always been something in me where sort of doing the specific ABCs where, people that are so talented in that realm are event planners or conference providers. And that it's never been my skill set. And I've often, felt just even my whole body would like tense up, just even thinking about having to plan or coordinate, getting people together or getting thoughts together. I've grown. I'm definitely a lot better at it. I haven't mastered it, that's for sure. But I'd say, just asking about the 80-20, yeah, I really get that. I mean, at this point now, I'm really focused on my time and my energy in the place where I could be just so me and so good at. And I let the rest just get outsourced or delegated to the right people.
Yeah. And that's it right there, because I absolutely cannot, like, I couldn't balance a checkbook. I can't pay bills. Like, they don't get paid if it's up to me. It's just, and it's something that just I've realized. And I used to think that I had to change that part of me. And it's like, no, screw that. I don't have to change this at all. I just have to make sure it's not my job to do that stuff because it won't get done.
Exactly.
And then it's easier. And then just do the things you're good at and kind of reinforce those.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
I think that we're living in a really cool time where, people are talking about a lot more currencies than just money. And what I mean by that is, certainly, the currency of likes, the currency of social media, the currency of what we call in FreshBiz action cards, all your non-monetary resources. But what I like is that more and more influencers, more leaders out there, and you know exactly what I'm talking about, are focusing on the currency of energy and getting really specific, really refined as to where I put my energy. Does it make sense for me to put my energy there? Does it not make sense? And I really like this awareness that a lot more people, I listen to it in the speech of people and how people are really doing things that energetically they want to do or they feel called to do because they know that they'll show up more powerfully to go do it. So I've just been trusting my intuition and being very focused on where I put my energy. And it's really, thank God, it's been paying off really, really nicely.
I like that. The currency of energy. So can we move on to projects?
Let's do it.
Cool. Projects is like a loose term. But any sort of project that you guys want to start now within your company, I would love to know sort of the process that you go through and whether it's a personal, like internal gut process or a written process. But can you tell me the process you go through in sort of deciding on an idea and deciding that it's not only worth your time, but also your team's time, energy, and resources?
So I've been hearing this a lot, which is that the new millionaires are not people who make $1 million, but they impact 1 million people. And the new billionaires are people who aren't making $1 billion, but they're impacting 1 billion people. And I think for us, we're very conscious. We really would like to impact the entire world one game at a time. We really believe that entrepreneurial thinking is something that every one of us needs to have. Now, if you listen to Seth Godin, if you're talking to everybody, then you're essentially talking to nobody. So it's really been a process for us to really distill down, well, who do we specifically want to be talking to around that? In terms of what we're working on right now, project-wise, we're working on two things. For us, it's really about the education. It's really about bringing the FreshBiz methodology to the world. So what that looks like is it looks like definitely in the school systems, and we've gotten into a few different MBA programs. We just started a program for high schools. So that's one project, and I can get you to sort of my headset about that. And then the second project right now specifically is finding our 150 trainers and coaches who can be licensed to run FreshBiz activities across North America. So that's the second big project that we're working on right now. I think in terms of how we approach both, in the first case, let's talk about schools, for example. So our goal is to always come about it in the best way possible. And in other words, to look for quantum leaps, to look for the right people so that we don't have to take this step-by-step, slow, linear process. So it's very easy, to be able to do some basic business development through Flipboard, online, through LinkedIn, to really get the key people that make key decisions and be able to reach out to them just really, really genuinely. I mean, one of the things I have to say that I'm proud of, John, is that we built an awesome brand these past 6 years. We got a great website. We got some great videos. And what I mean by great is, it really shares the spirit of what we do. So people can really get that. So we show up nicely for them. So in terms of attracting schools and educational systems, basically at this point now it's pretty simple because we have a really great portfolio that we could show. And then it just comes down to just putting in the time, reaching out to people the right way and seeing what we can create. Similarly, when it comes to attracting our coaches and trainers in North America, we have about 200 trainers right now around the world. And after being, we're now in about 25 countries, but we're really specifically coming now to North America. And what that looks like is building the specific system. It's literally taken us years. And we finally, as of 2 months ago, and this is how, I'm in Thailand basically for the month of February because I'm able to work remotely essentially and still have great family time also. Because this is the first time that we actually have a funnel and a system that works so nicely. And that's taken a lot of time to really distill down the different tools that we use that bring people from the front end to the back end and what that process looks like, and looking at the metrics and the analytics and the numbers and just focusing on how we can make it better without making ourselves too crazy. But how we approach those projects is just constantly, asking the question, one, what game are we playing? And two, what does winning look like? What game are we playing? Well, right now we're playing the game of coming to North America and finding incredible coaches and trainers. Okay, what does winning look like? Winning looks like we get to the end of the year and we have 150 people that are awesome, rock solid executive coaches and trainers that now have a new methodology that they can incorporate into their toolbox. Amazing. Okay, got it. Let's talk about schools. What does winning the game of that look like? Well, it looks like for us, it looks like having a successful high school pilot happen this year and then having it hopefully unlock 100 new schools for the second half of 2017. That's what winning looks like, having a specific number of schools that's quantifiable. And we'll see if we get there. I have no idea if we're going to win that game or lose that game, but it's definitely a game worth playing and we're excited about it.
Okay, so that's a great way to wrap it up. I love the two angles, like you're going after the coaches and then you're also going after schools, sort of for two different demographics with two different end sort of success metrics that you put to them. So this idea, though, of you start these projects and then at the end you said you don't know if they're going to work or if they're not. But it's really hard, right? It's really hard when you kind of put yourself and your team all into a direction, whether that's one or two directions, and then you find out sort of that it didn't work and that you've put all this time, energy, and resources into it and it's just not working. So with that in mind, could you sort of walk us through sort of how to be wrong within and also in front of a team and then be able to move forward from it? Yeah,
sure. So a couple things about that. One, when it comes to being wrong in front of people or other people, the answer is to just really declare that you were wrong. That's one of the things I think that very often we've seen so many TV shows, so many sitcoms where people literally just get themselves deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper because they try and comedically make it seem like they're not wrong about something. And all of a sudden they wind up getting even deeper than it was before. So I think that that's one of the biggest things, and this is all over the world of self-development and things like that, is just declare the breakdown, and that's really where the breakthrough can come. I will say also is that, look, I've been wrong so many times. Oh my gosh, we've done so many crazy things. We thought that the FreshBiz game was going to be a game in everyone's house. We printed thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of copies of our game, and at this point now it's now sitting. We converted basically our money into inventory, and now it's locked into inventory. And now we have new trainers, we have new countries opening, so we're able to unlock it. But my goodness, I've been wrong so many times before. But what I think is really key is that, and entrepreneurs, this, okay, is that you might be wrong about a specific thing, but just the action and just the traction of being engaged and doing creates lots of peripheral wins along the way. My goodness, even if it doesn't work out in this one specific scenario, just the branding that takes place and the seeds that we planted for collect profits that will happen, maybe not now, but in 6 months or in a year from now. And we've seen this, man. We've seen this happen again and again and again. that a specific intention or a specific goal didn't work out, but just showing up and just doing and being there with a team and with creating winds up yielding a lot of alternative currencies out there, a lot of side collect profits that happen along the way. So we have a really good game when companies bring us in to work on this idea of progress. So we have this really great FreshBiz game that we play with them where essentially they roll a couple of dice and they find themselves moving forwards and backwards. And it's this idea that you're never going backwards in life. Even when you're going backwards, you're not really going backwards because you're still learning, you're still better, you've still learned something. So you're just changing directions, but you can never go backwards. You're just changing the direction of the flow. So that's what I would say is, if you're wrong, it's okay. Declare the breakdown, declare it didn't work out, reassess, let go of ego, let go of pride. And at the same time, even if you're quote unquote wrong about a specific area in a specific scenario in a specific time frame, my goodness, there's still so many peripheral rewards that you can yield along the way just from being engaged.
Nice. I love it. I love the idea of rolling the dice and going backwards and forwards. And it's just kind of part of the progress and the process of just entrepreneurship and life in general, really. So this has been an absolute blast. I want to just wrap up on one final question that actually ties in really well sort of to that. It's this idea I'm working with calling the Entrepreneurial Gap. So you've been at this now for 6 years full time. You've accomplished a lot. I mean, you get to spend February in a beautiful country with your wife. And I'm sure there's a lot you still want to accomplish. So the gap seems to be sometimes that no matter what we accomplish personally, we often feel like our successes are in the future. So in 3 months when you sell that many books, or in 6 months when you stand on that stage, or in 10 months when you hit that revenue metric, that's when you'll see yourself as successful. You and I both know somehow that right before you hit that, you're going to set 5 or 10 bigger goals into the future. And so no matter what we accomplish, we end up just sort of stuck in this gap. So I would love it right now if you could look back at your whole sort of journey over the last 6 years, the highs, the lows, the wins, and the losses, but tell me how you feel about all of it up until today.
Wow. How do I feel? Exhilarated. That's how I feel. I feel exhilarated by it. It's really been a journey. I mean, there's been moments where I really have not known how I'm going to pay the bills for the month. I mean, where I was just so far in debt from really being all in and just in investing. And then there's been times where it's just been, oh my, there's been so much abundance happening within a span of a day or two. You're like, holy cow, this is like 5 years happening in the span of a week. This is just a crazy time shift happening right now. I'd say it's exhilarating. I'm always the guy that hangs on because I really believe that when I feel something with all my heart, I feel something through and through and through, there's nobody that's going to pull me away from it at all. When I get all into something, man, I get all into it. And it's been an exhilarating journey, and I'm really proud of it because, we've seen so many different things shift and morph. We've had to make so many different pivots. We've had to be so agile. We've had to see so many things crash and burn and recreate. And really, I mean, I would just say it's been really an exhilarating journey. And I'm so thankful to actually still be here to tell the journey. I just want to just add that was one thing which was so interesting for us when Wiley's asked us to write the book, The New Entrepreneurs, that we wrote a few years ago. We were so fascinated by it. We're like, why is Wiley's asking us to write a book right now? I mean, back then, by the way, our website was so butt ugly, I was embarrassed by it. So I could not even imagine how they found us, how they heard about us. And it occurred to us something interesting. And I think that this is really key, especially because this is Hacked Entrepreneur, right? Is usually traditionally, the people that would write the book were the people like the Warren Buffetts or the Bill Gates or the people that build Coca-Cola or all these other big companies because they can really write from on top of this gigantic mountain. But there's been a big shift. It's been a big shift with the new demographic of entrepreneurs out there, with the millennials out there, with whatever you want to call it. And the big shift is that we're people who we're not looking to retire or to just sit upon a big mountain and gaze back fondly at what happened. We're people who we want to just keep being in the game. We want to keep traveling. We want to keep developing. We want to keep evolving. That's a big part of it. There's nowhere to get to. It's just, like you said, it's a bigger stage and then a bigger stage. And then we'll play a bigger game. We'll play on a bigger board. We'll play with bigger people. But I think that's really key is there really is nowhere to get to. I mean, it's just a fun game. You want to just choose good players to play with and just focus on how you can really enjoy the journey. And I just think that that's so key. I consider myself a life celebrator. I'm here to celebrate moments because like you said, right, it's never over. And that was a big insight that came to us as we were writing the New Entrepreneurs. Was it's about the people, it's about the journey. It's not about what used to be the case of just getting somewhere and then you could write back fondly about it. It's writing from the trenches.
Well said. Well said. Well said. All right, so we've got to talk about your business in passing. Now, could you specifically tell the listener where they can track you guys down online and what it is they're going to find?
Yeah, sure. So a couple things. One, my name is Simcha Gluck, Gluck, and me and my partner Ronen Gaffney, Gafni. We're definitely both on LinkedIn. We're both on Facebook. Our website specifically is freshbizgame.com. That's freshbizgame.com. And there you'll basically discover the entire world of trainings and game-based experiences that we offer for startups, entrepreneurs, companies, corporate, all over the planet. And then a few things that we put together specifically for this show because I'm a fan, I love your work, and I love the message. So a couple things. One is if you're in North America and you text 44144, so that's 44144 with the word book, I'll send you the first 4 chapters of the book, The New Entrepreneurs. In this moment, we have 100% 5-star reviews, close to 100 people. So it's a good read. It's a game changer. How about that?
Very cool.
And the second thing is when you go to FreshBiz Game, if you order a workshop and you just put in Hack the Entrepreneur, we'll give you a 15% discount to be able to do some cool stuff with you, your team, your executives, whoever is part of your community that you'd like a refresh or to bring some serious playfulness or a game-based entrepreneurial experience to.
Very cool. Very cool. So I will link to all this in the show notes for you for when you get back to your computer or a chance to sit down and check it out. freshbizgame.com. Ronen is the partner and Simcha. I'll find both of them on LinkedIn for you, Facebook. I'll find FreshBiz. I'll track down the book and then I'll make sure to add that texting 44144 with the word book. So you can remember then and check it out. It'll be on Hack the Entrepreneur for you. Simcha, thank you so much again for joining. Thanks for sharing so openly. I really, really, truly do appreciate it. And please just keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks, man. Thanks for being who you are and asking great questions along the way.
FreshBooks makes ridiculously easy to use cloud accounting software that helps over 10 million entrepreneurs like you and I deal with all of the paperwork. That paperwork that annoys us to no end and takes us out of the work that we should be doing. Things like formatting and sending invoices, making sure that you get paid on time, and keeping track of receipts while staying organized for tax season. FreshBooks is offering you, as a Hack the Entrepreneur listener, a 30-day, unrestricted, free trial. To claim it, just go to freshbooks.com/hack and enter Hack the Entrepreneur in the How Did You Hear About Us section. All right, well, that was a lot of fun, and I hope that I didn't mispronounce your name, Simcha, too much. It's Canadian. It's these accents, I guess, and I don't know. I tried. Anyways, I had an absolute blast getting to sit down and talk to Simcha and experience his take on entrepreneurship and then his excitement behind it, right? And I mean, the fact that he's in Thailand with his wife for a month and something that he wasn't expecting himself to be able to do a few years down the line. So that excitement is kind of infectious and it comes through in the conversation. And it was just a lot of fun. So we've reached the point in the show now where I get to go back. I get to go back and listen to the conversation the way you get to hear the conversation through. So I did. I went back and then I went back again. That second time through the conversation, there was something that I had missed. I'm not sure how I missed it, but I did. And when I heard it this second time through, something that Simcha had said that was so very, very, very clear. It was just right there. It was the one thing that he said. Did you get it? Did you hear it? Let's do it. Let's find the hack.
Getting really specific, really refined as to where I put my energy. Does it make sense to me to put my energy there? Does it not make sense? And I really like this awareness that a lot more people, I listen to it in the speech of people and how people are really doing things that energetically they want to do or they feel called to do because they know that they'll show up more powerfully to go do it.
And that's the hack. Simcha. I love this. Getting really specific, really refined about where to put your energy, where to focus your energy, right? There's going to be stuff in your business that you don't want to do. That's true. And there's no way really around that. But that doesn't mean you need to focus your energy there. Your energy needs to be in, whether you call it this whole zone of genius or you call it what you're really good at, you call it your one thing, your superpowers, whatever you want to call it, however you want to define it, I don't care. But you have to find it. You have to know it. You have to identify what it is, and you have to make sure that that's where your energy gets utilized. That's what it is. That's the quicker you can get rid of the other stuff, delegate it out. That's where you're going to get your leverage points, your whole small hinges swing big doors. You need to get those points. And I understand you can't get them right at the beginning because you have to do all of it in your business. But you have to become aware before anything else of where your energy needs to be focused. That's how it's going to get you up in the morning. That's how it's going to keep you working over the weekends when you have to accomplish what it is you want to accomplish. It's finding that energy source and focusing that on your one thing. It really, really is that. And yes, you're going to have to do these other things. Yes, there's going to be stuff to do that you don't want to do. But your job as the entrepreneur and as the owner of the business, the CEO, whatever you want to call yourself, your job is to find your genius, your one thing, and focus as much energy there as possible. That's where your growth will come from. That's where your growth as a human being, as an entrepreneur, and then as a business will come from. Get really specific, really defined with where you spend your energy. Simha, thank you. Well, that was a lot of fun. I really, really, really enjoyed that. HackTheEntrepreneur.com. Head over there, get onto the email list. You won't regret it. It's a good place to be. And I'll have show notes for Simha, a link to FreshBiz, his partner, his book, The Art of Playfulness, also his LinkedIn and his Facebook. And anything else we talked about will be over there. Also, check out the blog while you're there. I've been busy writing this whole year. I mean, it's only the third month, but I made a goal of writing once a week for the site, and I have been. How to start your first business, how to decide if you should quit your job and start your first business, how to decide on what you should do for your first business. All topics I've covered, and they're over there waiting for you to hopefully kind of give you the kick that you need. Let me know. Let me know what you think. All right. It's been fun. Thank you so very much for stopping by. I absolutely appreciate it. And please, until next time, keep hacking the entrepreneur.